Hello everybody, welcome to Tree Talks with Jennifer Dawn. I am so excited to share part 2 about past lives today and my journey with past lives. So to share a little bit about past lives and how I experienced past lives in this life, let me take you back in time. So I would have been about 17, 18 years of age, and unfortunately, like many people in the world, I experienced rape. And so I was recommended to actually see a rape therapist. And so he decided he was going to hypnotize me. Now, I have to actually just rewind just a little bit before I tell you what happened in that experience. So back in the day, Shirley MacLaine had actually released a book called Bird on a Wire. And she talks about past lives, spirituality. And really, for me, she was a pioneer. She was a spiritual pioneer and mentor for me, because she had the bravery and the courage to speak out at a time that a lot of people did not talk about past lives or anything spiritual. A lot of people were shunned if they talked about anything about this. Thank goodness now in 2025 we are a little more open-minded on a global scale, so thank goodness. But when Shirley MacLaine released her book, I believe it was in the late 80s, it was not received very well, and she was made fun of and she was called all sorts of awful names. Well, when she released her book, I also was one of those people. I didn't call her names, but I thought, what is she talking about? I had no idea that my life path, my journey, everything was going to change. So now fast forward. So now I am seeing the rape therapist. He says that he's going to hypnotize me. So that's exactly what he did. He hypnotized me, and it was part of my treatment, part of my counseling, because he was going to the root cause of where all these fears towards men were coming from. He had no idea that when he was going to hypnotize me, that I was actually going to completely change things for him. So what happened is, after he hypnotized me, my voice completely changed. I started telling him about the village that I lived in, the time, the place, everything. He had no warning, no prep work whatsoever for this, and I was his very first patient to ever have this occur during a session with him. So he had been in practice at that point for over 30 years, and he told me that he never ever experienced this before me. So if you are familiar with the works of Dr. Brian Weiss, who is incredible, he is an amazing, brilliant man, and he also is one of my personal mentors. If you're familiar with his writing, you'll know that he actually shares a very similar experience, except he was the therapist. So he talks about Catherine, a patient that comes into his clinic and comes for a session, and he regresses her, and lo and behold, she talks about a past life. So I was a Catherine for my therapist, and when I read Dr. Brian Weiss' story about Catherine, I could completely relate, except I was Catherine. So what happened after that? So after my experience with a past life, I knew that there was way more to this life than I had ever given it credit for. And so it really began this drive, this thirst for more knowledge about past lives. So as I've mentioned a few times, I'm in BC, Canada, and at the time when I was looking, there were not a lot of regression therapists. So I decided I'm going to become a regression therapist. So I packed my bags and I booked a trip to go to Rhinebeck, New York, to be trained and certified by none other than Dr. Brian Weiss. So I was trained and certified in past life regression by him, and it was an incredible experience. Not only was I trained and certified by him, but I actually had an amazing experience behind the experience. So what happened? So when you might be asking yourself, well, what happened? I'm going to tell you. So when I was booking for the registration, there was an option to stay right on the campus for the whole week during the intensive training. I kept saying to myself, nope, that I don't know why, but I'm not supposed to stay there. all of a sudden in the right hand corner of my laptop is this advertisement for a place. So I find out it's right where I need to be, so I book it. I had no idea that there were other forces at work. So what happened? I get to this place, and because of privacy, I am not going to disclose the name of the place. So I get to the place, and the lady who takes care of the place, she's amazing, Edna. So if you're watching this, Edna, you're incredible. So Edna comes up to me, she gives me a big hug, she made me feel so welcome, and she asks, who am I there to see that week? And I tell her, Dr. Brian Weiss. She goes, no way. She goes, he's staying here with his beautiful wife, Carol. So yeah, you guessed it, I had an entire week with Dr. Brian Weiss and his wife, Carol. It was an incredible experience and definitely one of the highlights of my life, in this life. So personally, I believe there's way more to life than we realize. There's still so many things that we don't realize. We are literally just beginning to discover even more. So have a beautiful day, everybody, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.